In today's episode, in a shocking twist of events, Roberto utters the unthinkable.
Did somebody die?
And just when you think it couldn't get any worse,
Let me just try to express my condolences.
murder, mourning, and what?
$1 million US.
Join us and listen to Roberto's TAC and PSIRT stories.
Welcome to Cisco Tech Stories, a podcast with real-life stories from real-life engineers. Your hosts are Nicholas and Tristan.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to Cisco Tech Stories. We're so glad you could join us for episode 25.
Hello everyone, I'm Tristan, and as always, I'm here with my fantastic co-host Nico. Hello Nico.
Hello Tristan, and hello to all our listeners. Thanks for tuning in. We've got a fantastic episode lined up for you today, and we're not going to talk about a specific technology this time, but about security in all technologies.
That's right, and for Cisco, security is always top of mind. There's always more happening behind the scene than what people realize. From keeping our products safe to responding to security incidents in real time, there's dedicated teams in Cisco that make that happen.
And speaking of dedicated teams, today we're joined by someone who knows this world inside and out, Roberto Petrillo, and I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing it the right Italian way. Roberto is a PSIRT incident manager here at Cisco and bringing a wealth of experience from his many years as a tech engineer specializing in content security.
We are really excited to dive into Roberto's journey from tackling tough customer cases in TAC to managing some of Cisco's most critical security incidents. If you're curious about how Cisco deals with security behind the scenes, or just love hearing about passionate engineers, you're in the right place. Hello, Roberto.
Hello.
Good morning, Tristan. Hi, Nico.
How are you?
Good. I mean, Monday morning, so, we have seen worse, we have seen better. But the weekend was calm, so why not?
All right, for the people who don't know you, do you mind to introduce yourself a little bit?
Absolutely. So, for those who don't know me, or also for those who know me but I forgot about me, my name is Roberto Petrillo. I joined Cisco exactly 9 years and 11 months. So in 1 month,
Super precise.
Super precise because Cisco likes to remind me every now and then, like, hey, your Ciscoversary is coming. Prepare a big party and invite all your colleagues you've met in the last decade and blah blah blah. So yes, almost 10 years in Cisco. I've seen things, I heard things, things that I can share, things that I cannot share. But all in all, it's been a hell of a ride. Like, it's super cool. And, who knows, maybe for another 10, 20, 30 years, who knows how long, I love the company. So I joined fresh from university. That is something that many other people in Cisco share. So I was studying computer engineering in Rome, a university called Uniroma 2. And I was looking for a job, I was looking for an internship throughout, far, near and far. And I couldn't find much at the time. So I was writing my master's thesis at the time, and my professor was invited me basically to look beyond the national borders. And you can imagine, like, a shy little student from university in Italy. We were like, okay, should I really attempt to emigrate, to find other places, to go somewhere? And in the end, I was like, yeah, sure, why not? So I started my journey and of sending my curriculum and then not sleeping at night, thinking, oh my God, when are these people gonna reply? And eventually, this whole process took me to Cisco. And not Cisco, so initially I applied for Cisco US, but because of logistics, because of the green card, I suppose at the time, I was not allowed to even apply for a position in the US. So the Cisco representatives at the time recommended me to apply for Poland, for Cisco Poland. And I was so surprised, and I was like, okay, like my knowledge about Eastern Europe was not that great so at the time, so I decided to give it a shot. And after months and months and months and interviews and test and role play, I got in and I joined TAC, just like many other people and guests you have had in this podcast. I joined TAC.
Yeah,
Cisco
like us,
Poland.
actually.
Yeah, exactly. So fresh from university, and my focus was on top of computer engineering, was cybersecurity. So I was asking the HR, I was asking the hiring manager, like, are you sure you can find me, a team? Like, I'm excited to work for Cisco, but switches and routers or collaboration, it's not really my jam. I do security, 120%. Is there a team that does that? I didn't know that much. So they said, Roberto, don't worry. Cisco is huge. Cisco has a job for everybody. Like, there is the right place for you in the company. We will find it for you, and then you will be happy, and you will stay with us 5, 10, 10 years or more. So I joined the WSA team, web security. Then I've been there for a long time, because living in TAC and working in TAC, even though it's super exciting, somebody told me that the aging is a bit different. Like, you see your colleagues in architecture, or you see colleagues in law, in arts, and they just age 1 year every year, while in TAC you age like okay, some colleagues was like, oh, you age like dogs. It's like 8 years in one. It's not that bad, although I lost all my hair. Good that the people in the podcast cannot see. I had hair till my shoulders when I joined Cisco, and now it's not the case. But the sun is shining on my very high forehead. That's not. It's better than what you imagine.
It's called experience, not aging.
Exactly. Yes. So 8 years of experience. Every year you live in TAC. Absolutely, I can confirm that. So after a few years in TAC, and after a lot of years of experience assimilated in one, in a few, I was looking for a different kind of job, so where I could nurture much more my passion for cybersecurity. And while the web security TAC team was, by definition, working in cybersecurity and web security, the problem there was that, just like with many other TAC cases and TAC teams, you work specifically on a product or a portfolio or a technology where you see lots of things, but at the same time, you focus more on the problem related to the product or deployment. I wanted to go more into the attacks, 0 days, exploitation, not really pen testing per se, but somehow in that environment. So whenever the occasion occurred and presented itself, I got into the PSIRT team. And for those of you who are not familiar, PSIRT is an acronym, just one of many in Cisco, that stands for Product Security Incident Response Team. So now, and for the last almost 8 years in PSIRT, I've been working to protect all the products. So I'm not product specific or specialized anymore. PSIRT works with every solution that Cisco sold in the past, sells today, and will sell tomorrow. So whenever there is a vulnerability or a security incident related to the products, we are there for you. It's the marketing phrase. No, but like we work in that sense.
Can I ask you to backtrack a little? The web security team, what do they do exactly? Because I know some of their products, but I'm not sure everyone is familiar, and I'm not really either.
Of course. So web security, at the time when I joined, it was called content security. There was a combination of products and technologies that many customers nowadays still implement. So we had proxies, the WSA. Today, I think with the Cisco Secure branding, it would be called Cisco Secure Web Appliance. Mm-hmm. That is a proxy that you deploy in your network. You can have more than one for high availability, redundancy. And what you actually do is it's not only filtering but monitoring the traffic that your endpoints and your end users are generating and then connecting outside of your personal network or corporate network and so on. You can do content filtering, you can do analysis, you can do malware analysis, you can detect whether there are viruses or not. So you can profile the traffic. There are lots of nice, like it was a really cool product, and being in PSIRT, I'm not paid to sell you anything, so I don't have to tell you how cool it was. But having seen it from the TAC perspective, I can tell you it was a very good product with very good and smart people behind. So that was for web. And then my twin team was the email security. And maybe that is a bit more, you are more familiar with that, because ESA, or Cisco Secure Email Appliance, is instead monitoring and checking everything through your emails, like for your emails. So it's an email security solution. So altogether, the two, web and email, were part of the content security team that I was part of.
And how do you define the transition of, you were working on a security product, so yes, it was security, but a dedicated product. Now you're doing security, but on all the products. So that, I guess that must be a big change, right?
That was exciting. I mean, I remember 2 phases of my career in Cisco, 2 periods, where I was just walking on cloud 9. I was so happy, my head in the clouds. And the first time was when I got hired into Cisco. So I got my offer letter, and there was written, on the email, I was like, yes, we want you at Cisco. We welcome you in a couple of months. See you in Krakow, Poland. And I was, super excited. And the second was when I was leaving TAC, although TAC is amazing, we don't have to convince the people about that. But when I was moving into PSIRT, that was, so I got in if I'm not wrong, in November. In November, I received the offer that I was about to join the PSIRT team. And the PSIRT team is not a really big team. Like in TAC, you have thousands and thousands of people. PSIRT is a smaller organization, and all of us actually scale with all the products and the technologies that Cisco is producing and supporting. So imagine the amount and I want to say visibility, but it's not just that. I can tell you more about what we do on a daily basis. So the change was huge, because working again in TAC, when I joined TAC, I was expecting, okay, web security, I'm gonna work with web security, web vulnerabilities, and web attacks day in and day out. So 8 hours a day, more or less, sometimes more, sometimes less. No, it's always more. I was always thinking, yes, like I'm gonna finally, SQL injection, cross-site scripting, command injections. That would be my bread and butter every day. The truth is that when people buy these products, it doesn't matter that it's for web security, whether it is for email security, whether it's not for security whatsoever, like you will always encounter problems with the products you buy. That's normal, like every device that we own or wear or use eventually will have some problems. So if you multiply that by the people using these devices, you can imagine that the support team is pretty busy, and we were pretty busy. So I did have cases and situations where I could help customers regarding attacks. But that was a very small percentage compared to, hey, Roberto, my internet is slow when I download this file. Can you help me figuring out why?
The security vulnerability was just the top of the iceberg, right?
Yeah, it was the cherry on top. Like whenever I had something like that and people were like, oh my God, we have a huge vulnerability. What can we do? I was just, rubbing my hands. I'm like, yes, oh, I can work on that. And then people were like, Roberto, we have a situation, it's very tragic. And I'm like, yes, tell me more, please tell me more. I'm so excited. Oh, thank you so much for having this problem. And they're like, what? No, sorry. And many times I had to calm down. My colleagues were even looking at me weirdly, like, man, it's just a job, calm down, you're too excited. Like, yeah, but look at this problem. And they were not understanding why I was so excited. But maybe I was putting my soul into helping customers who were not.
And talking about these problems, what problems did you have at the time? What funny stories do you have from that?
Oh yeah, plenty of stories. It's like everybody in TAC, if you've been in TAC long enough, you have plenty of stories. You couldn't write a book. There should be a book about ex-TAC engineers. My last case in TAC was, again, about 8 years ago. So apologies in advance for not... I mean, I still remember, I still have lovely dreams and nightmares haunting every my nights. But yes, like we want... If anybody has questions like, oh, Roberto was not very accurate, yeah, sure, like
That's
check it
fine.
with the current team. Yeah. Okay, so let's see. The first thing that I remember, and that when people ask me, okay, what is the weirdest thing you've seen? So there was a customer, and I think everybody's familiar with P1, P2, like the priority.
Yeah, severity of
indicators,
cases, right? Yeah, yeah.
There you go. So it was a P1, and usually P1 is connected to a network down situation. Now, this was kind of atypical because it wasn't really a network, fully network down. Also because being, having a proxy, it's not really the network that goes down, especially when you work on the WSA, because sure, you can have a bottleneck where all the traffic passes through it and you don't have availability, one goes down, and then lots of computers don't have access, right? But it's mostly about the HTTP, HTTPS, so the application layer traffic. So it's not like nothing works. But still, the perception for end users is tragic. So imagine something like today, Monday morning, a guy at his first or second year in TAC, still a decent amount of hair on his head, lots of, hopes for the week, and 8 a.m., 1 minute past 8 a.m., the phone rings, and it's a P1 call. So you see this red blinking color, and you're like, oh, why didn't I choose architecture instead of... So anyway, or like my mom wanted like becoming a doctor, that would have been easier. Probably not, but anyway. So P1. So I take that P1, like, somebody has to do it. So you take one for the team and you talk, you are immediately breached with the customer. And the customer was, of course, stressed. The situation was going on, and I asked, okay, can you tell me more about what's going on? Please be specific. I'm here to help you. Please tell me that it's a web security vulnerability, so at least I'm gonna be even more excited about it. And they're like, no, Roberto, we have a serious problem, and I need your help. And I'm like, sure, And the customer goes on and says, look, we have this situation. We are an important institution, like thousands of systems. And we also have your web proxy. And we noticed that over the night and then this morning, we have seen that our systems are being DOSed, almost one by one. And some of them just died, some of them rebooted, some of them crashed, some of them are not responsive. It's a very weird situation. And we don't really know, not only Cisco devices or Cisco systems, they were talking about their endpoints, they were talking about some other, okay. And they're like, look, we don't really know, but since we have a support with Cisco and we use your product, can you check the logs? Can you do your analysis? Can you work your magic and figure out what's going on? And I'm like, okay, that doesn't seem like too bad. I was expecting more. I was like, okay, I mean, if it's only analysis of logs, at the time, I was really good at that. So now after 10 years, let's talk about it. But, I knew how to navigate through the product. I knew all the hidden folders. I was like, yes, I can do that. So let's check. So the customer holds on the line. I do my analysis. It took some time, of course. But then, and this is more about the technical part. So if somebody's familiar with the product, I was using the typical access logs. And then trying to find top talkers. This is pretty standard when it happens. Nowadays, I'm sure you can feed these logs into some like Splunk or some other solutions.
An AI system, probably.
An AI system. Well, make sure that you're not, sharing outside your access logs. But yeah, absolutely. Like access logs, you can find them in every device. So you find top talkers. At the time, one little... I would say pro tip for the for the people there was to use Oak as a system agnostic way of parsing logs. we had lots of little scripts and tools and one-liners that I also developed throughout the years that would give me a very quick review of a bunch of logs. Of course, you can have fancy dashboard, but if you want bread and butter, like being a command line ninja still pays off in 2025.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what happened? I checked the top talkers, I checked the amount of traffic that was exchanged, and actually, to my huge surprise, there was one endpoint that was the source of the majority of the traffic. I'm talking about like 89, 90% of the whole traffic for the last 24 hours was coming from one single IP. And the interesting thing is that, again, remember, this is a web proxy. So you're expecting web traffic, whether it's to Google, to YouTube, to Facebook, to Cisco, doesn't really matter, but you're expecting this traffic. While in that scenario, I remember that I've seen all this traffic not even leaving the corporate network. So this endpoint, whatever it was, I don't know, from the WC perspective, you don't see what certain things are unless you profile them. So all the traffic was going to internal IP addresses, and you could see that. And the amount was incredible. Like it was really a poor version of denial of service. Not really distributed. It was only one endpoint. Mm-hmm. So reasons for that could be so many: misconfiguration, a mistake, some tool that was poorly installed. Like it could be malware as well. But how did the malware go there? So there are so many reasons, and I could only see the traffic.
And at that time, that was the same IP that you could see on all the proxies that the customer was having troubles with?
Mm-hmm, that's correct. Mm-hmm. So it was only one. So I was like, okay, you see, I wasn't wrong. This seems easier. Maybe it's easy, but let me talk to the customer. So I pick up the call and I contacted the customer again. And look, I don't see exactly what's happening on that device. That's not for my team to say. But, this is the cause of all this amount of traffic. And the destination IPs kind of match what you were telling me at the beginning. You can have a look. And the answer was like, thank you, Roberto. Boom. And the guy closed the phone call.
Does that mean they know who that was and they're going to have a discussion?
No, I don't think so. Like, I think he was more like satisfied about my fast analysis and my excitement that, at the end I was not as excited as at the beginning, but still. And then they said like, they didn't say anything. That's what like blew my mind. I didn't know what to do. I was kind of not new to TAC, but first time that a customer doesn't say like, okay, thank you, I will let you know, or you can close the case, you cannot close the case, wait for my response. It was just like, okay, bye. Or not even bye, like, thank you, Roberto, boom. And at that time I was confused. I was like, okay, I want to be helpful, but what should I do? My first reaction was like, okay, let me stay on the call for another 6 hours until my shift is over, so I don't have to work on other cases. But I think that would be that could have been a bit unprofessional. So I asked my manager or my team leader at the time. So I was like, look, this is the situation. What should I do? And they were so much more experienced than me at the time. You could see that from the high hairline, right? So they had so much experience. And they said, look, Roberto, this is a weird situation, but give them some time. They will process the information you provided. They will eventually get back to you, or in a couple of days, you can send them an email. Well, I'm not kidding you, but one day or maybe 2 days, I don't remember, but it was like a couple of days later, the same guy didn't even send an email. So the customer called my direct phone number and said, good morning, Roberto. I'm like, oh, hi, how's it going? And he didn't let me finish, oh, hi, how's it going? Did you solve? He just said, thank you again for your help. The problem has been solved. And then he closed he closed the call again. He didn't confirm the closure of the case. He didn't say, what should I do? The problem has been solved.
It sounds a bit like a threat, right?
Yeah, well, not to me, but to somebody for sure. And at that time, you remember, young TAC engineer full of hopes. I was like, I was so happy that I solved the problem. But then I started feeling a sense of guilt raising from the back of my, from my back to my shoulders and my neck. And I'm like, did somebody die because of what I just do? Oh, I'm like, okay. Like, what if there was somebody in that company, maybe a mistake, maybe something wrong, like, and they started shooting traffic and causing some, not damage, but like some problems. And the way the customer told me that, and I could feel the fear in somebody else's eyes while he said the problem has been solved.
It's Bob from accounting who was fired for torrenting during working hours.
Yeah, so either fired would have been the easiest way out, I suppose. Killed, depending on how important those systems were. But yes, so I'm feeling like, the first time I realized we're not kidding here, we're not playing. Like, our actions really have consequences, and it's not just saving the day. This is like somebody will take the blame, and we are way past the blame level. I don't see that. How many people died or were in criminal, like, how many people suffered for tech problems? We talk about financial impact, or in my case, security impact. How about the human impact? Like, how many people lost everything because they installed the wrong script? So that was a wake-up call for me, and I started started thinking about everything that customers were actually dealing with. So in a way, maybe it increased a bit my empathy.
Yeah, I mean, we do have military customers. Sometimes the impact can be much more than just financial, right? So if it's like spying or like a security concern on a very sensitive network, it can be really, really bad. So yeah. I can imagine, yeah. Better not know. Better just stay focused on the technical side and let that to other people, I think.
Yeah, that's my advice as well.
But anyway, from TAC, there was also something that it was less painful, at least for somebody, and more on the lost in translation kind of deal. I remember that when we were in TAC the first years in Krakow, there was a moment, maybe every 2 weeks, where we were all coming together and sharing the most fun cases that any of us colleagues experienced. And just to be clear, it wasn't a situation where we could have fun about problems. 10 years later, I still have the clear image of this case that happened, and it made me laugh so much at the time, so I will share with you as well. There was a colleague of mine, his first week in TAC, and he was working in collaboration. Call managers, UIC,
IP phones and all that stuff, I guess.
IP phones, exactly. And you could see from the emails that he was really trying his best to, write good emails and be polite and decisive, like assuring and caring. First month, you don't delve right into the problem. You really want to try your best. They had a WebEx. They had a scheduled WebEx to troubleshoot something live. A few hours before the actual meeting, the customer sends an email saying, "Hello, engineer. I'm sorry, but we need to postpone this meeting. Our call manager just died." The tech guy probably didn't think that through, and he started writing this long email. "I am so sad for your loss. All my condolences go to you and the company. I can only imagine how tragic this moment could be, losing a colleague, maybe a mentor, maybe a manager in this tough scenario. I have no words. I don't have words to express the level of sadness that affect, impact that clouds my soul in this moment of grief. Anyway, let me just try to express my condolences in the following 3 or 4 paragraphs." And so. But to be honest, it was beautiful. The thing is that people cried reading that email.
And that was before ChatGPT time.
Oh yeah, but way before. It was like 9 years ago. So it was so beautiful. And this guy wrote such a heartfelt email that I just, I'm like, wow, you really did a great job. Sadly, nobody died. I mean, sadly, I cannot be sad, but the customer, so this was a huge email, finishing with, finally, I understand if you want to take some time to spend, alone without worrying about technical issues. Don't worry, I will be there for you whenever you're ready. Just drop me an email. We will reschedule our session. The answer was, it is the Cisco Call Manager version 9.651 we are talking about.
I'm wondering what's the face of the customer when they receive that
I
email.
don't. I mean, it's nice that Cisco
Yeah.
people are ready, and empathetic as well.
Yeah.
But and then the funny part is that then the engineer replied again, understanding the quid pro quo. So he was like, "Oh dear sir, I am so glad and relieved that no human soul has been hurt in this process. I am." We should rejoice the moment that we all, including the manager, whoever manager it is alive and well. Sure, it was a device. Type this command to reboot it if needed.
Too much empathy, bro. Too much.
Oh my god, it was so fun. I don't know. And look, I am so sure that this happens all the time, especially when we use words like it died, it crashed, it broke down. I'm sure that it happened all the time. When you move then into a team like PSIRT, things change a little bit because suddenly there are real threats, real security impacts. It's not just one company.
Yeah. Back to reality now.
Yeah, I mean, we can find. Look, maybe it's my Italianness speaking, but you need to find a little bit of fun in everything you do. If your job is not fun, you cannot do it at 8, 10, 12 hours every day for 40 years, right? So
I think it's a big key, actually, finding the balance of, finding it fun. Like, you find it fun to work on a vulnerability, but you also respect that it's super critical for the customer, and you're not considering it's a game, right? You're still serious, professional, etc. But deep inside, you're finding fun in doing that job. And then similarly, I've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, it's too taxing to work in tech because you only have people who are upset on the phone. It's always problems, emergencies after each other," which is true, and that's why you have to kind of build a shield and not caring personally. Like when you go home, you go home. Like whatever happened at work does not affect you. It's not, someone's network being down does not affect you in any sense. But that doesn't prevent you to still give your best during your working hours, right?
Now, in PSIRT.
Exactly. Like in PSIRT, it's really hard to take it personally because if you see a command injection or an SQL injection, then you're like, yeah, it's not on me. I mean, of course, I'm very sad. I'm very sad that this exists. So let me explain like maybe a couple of minutes about what we do in PSIRT. PSIRT is relatively small comparing to organizations like TAC or Advanced Services group in the security and trust organization inside of Cisco. And PSIRT, many times we've been described as the public face of security for the company. Because whenever there is a problem that is affecting our devices, solutions, systems, and so on, sure, you talk to TAC when you have a problem. But at the end of the day, if you find a vulnerability or something that can be exploited, or you find that the device has been compromised, you can always drop an email to PSIRT. Mm-hmm. And it's very simple. It's at psirt@cisco.com. So you can find it. If you Google it, you find it. And we are responsible for driving investigations on Cisco products. And I have noticed and I've seen that there was an episode on the podcast when you interviewed somebody from PSIRT. That's actually our distant cousin. So PSIRT is protecting Cisco and protecting the company. PSIRT is protecting the devices. And in return, it protects also the customers who are deploying those devices. Imagine every product, every software system will eventually have bugs. There are bugs everywhere, right? You cannot have a software that is completely without bugs. That's the reason why everybody in IT will maintain their jobs in the next many years to come. So IT systems have bugs. Some bugs are vulnerabilities, meaning that it can be exploited and
Maliciously,
maliciously, of course. But nevertheless, you find a bug that can be exploited. So then what do you do? The best way to do it is to report it to the vendor so that the vendor can fix it, give you a fix, and then notify everybody else in the world that the fix is available. So then we can reduce the attack surface and we can just protect, again, our customers. Yes, but that's important. So the PSIRT day-to-day is like this. We're a reactive team. So of course we do something more proactive because we're not just sitting there waiting for the world to burn.
And we also have other team doing a lot of proactive work internally to find vulnerabilities, red teaming and all that stuff.
And you can talk more about that.
Yeah.
I guess we can talk a lot about recent team. But yes, so PSIRT is mostly reactive. So something happens in the world, whether it's in Cisco, somebody like in Tristan's team finds something, or a customer finds something, or even somebody from the university, from the academic field, can do a master's thesis in exploiting a Cisco device. And if they find a critical vulnerability, they will get the maximum grade for their thesis. I've seen that, not that often, but it can happen, right? And how cool it would be to find a vulnerability on a Cisco product. Now, keep in mind that if you do something like that, or if anybody does something like that, there are processes. Like it takes some time for a vendor as big as Cisco to just test the vulnerability. That's the PSIRT team, verify that everything is happening, the impact and so on, and then prepare the fix, and then deploy, release the fix and commit it and share it with the rest of the world. Reporting vulnerabilities, I want to say it's almost like an art, because nobody is born knowing how to report the vulnerability, how to contact big companies like ours. So you have organizations like HackerOne, you have bug bounties, but in the case of Cisco, where we don't have a global bug bounty for products, if you find something, what do? Well, you contact, in this case, the Cisco PSIRT group, and then you will have somebody like myself working on your report and understanding the impact, working together, finding out if you can steal passwords, change the configuration, depending on the vulnerability. So that is more or less what we do.
Yeah, your goal is really to understand how critical is the vulnerability being reported to you, trying to juice it as much as you can to see how much the CVSS score will be, and then do everything to make sure that everybody in Cisco fixes it in the right product, in all the right versions.
And I guess a part of your proactivity is also to say, oh, we just, someone reported a vulnerability in this product, and actually it comes from this library or this, whatever type of code. We actually use the same in this other products. Let's make sure, let's test these products to see if they're vulnerable and fix it as well. And because the developer of the first product doesn't have that responsibility. It's like, yeah, I'm a coder for web security appliance or whatever. It's none of my job if the code manager implements the same library or not. So, and that's your job to say, hey guys, better check this out because this could affect you as well, right?
And if you think about the previous example, like if you find a vulnerability that will kill a code manager, well, our responsibility is to save device lives, because what if the call manager dies for a vulnerability, and then you have other products, and then there is an hecatomb all around. So it's better not to risk something like that. Everything starts with somebody finding a vulnerability, and then we can expand on that. Now, imagine, and I can give you like a real example. Like imagine one of you guys find DOS vulnerability. But say you send one packet, the single packet of death. You send a packet to a device, the device crashes. That's obviously a vulnerability. If it's not obvious, you can think about, okay, in terms of CIA triad, what are you impacting in the device? It's the availability component, because the device just goes down. Okay, so at this point, you find the problem, and you report it to PSIRT. And this happened to me several times. The thing is that the person who finds this single packet of death then will claim that his attack, or their attack can cause command execution on the device. Say that that device is built on Unix. They can say, oh yes, with this little packet, I can become root on the device. I can execute my own commands. I can backdoor your Cisco device. This is a critical 10 out of 10 vulnerability, the worst thing in the world, and you need to glorify me as the top reporter in the universe. I understand why. I mean, let's talk about that. It's a game. Even though we need to be professional, this will always be a game between the attackers and the defender, red team, blue team. Like, if you find a vulnerability, your goal is to try to raise the impact as much as you can, because that's your role. That's what you should do, right? If I were the person finding vulnerabilities, I would be happier to have found a critical vulnerability rather than a low vulnerability.
Yeah.
Makes sense. So when you are evaluating how bad a vulnerability is from the attacker's perspective, and you're trying either to sell it to somebody or to convince the vendor that something is bad, you try to highlight all the bad things you can do with a given vulnerability. Now, at the same time, think about the other part of the universe. So from a customer's perspective or a vendor perspective, there are just so many vulnerabilities that you need to take care of. There are like hundreds multiplied by the systems, by the versions, and so on. So it's important to prioritize the vulnerability. All vulnerabilities are bad. I think we all agree on that. All bugs are bad. Like, if you could fix every single bug in the world in one go, you would do it. Awesome. The thing is that there are so many vulnerabilities that if you need to prioritize, you need to be really clear about what is critical versus what is medium versus what is not. And that is the level of the type of art, if you want, in security, that the Cisco PSIRT, or actually PSIRT organizations around the world, are trained upon. And I remember that when I joined the PSIRT team, like the first 2 months, I was not even touching devices. It was only about getting better at this crafting and this theory of the evaluation. And it's really challenging because, again, everybody can go and attack or try. There are sites online where you can practice your hacking skills. But have you ever thought about, okay, but how bad is this attack in reality? So what we need to do for that example with the DOS is, sure, you found a denial of service single packet of death, but what else can you do? So there is the whole concept about weaponization of a proof of concept, of understanding what is the maximum and the worst thing that you can do.
I guess the appeal is the mix of diplomacy skills with technical skills, right, in terms of investigation, because you might have a customer say, oh, this is the worst, vulnerability ever, whether that person is like a security researcher who found it or a customer who got affected. Oh, it's single packet of that, like it's really bad. But you objectively say, well, honestly, you have a very rare situation where this packet can be sent. For most other customers, like this single packet of death will never go through the internet, like it's going to be dropped on the way. So we don't expect that many other customers to be affected. So yes, it's a vulnerability, but it's not as bad as you think. So you have to really think about the trigger. Is it really that bad? Then you have to work with the developer who wants to fix it, who might say, oh yeah, that's just a corner case. Let me do a dirty fix, and fix it by just implementing this quick line. And you're like, dude, I don't like your code commit. It's not, protective enough. Like, I'm sure another attacker could twist a bit the packet of death and make a denial of service again, just by twisting one bit or whatever. Like, this is not the proper fix. And you have to fight with the developer to agree on what is a proper fix. And it takes a lot of diplomacy mixed with investigative and technical skills, right?
It's a mix. Like, there is a reason why I could tell you that the PSIRT team is one of the best teams that we have in Cisco, and you might say, well, Roberto, you are very biased. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not that I say that because I'm in PSIRT. I'm in PSIRT because I believe in that. So it's really a mix. Like, in this role, it's not just technical. Even though my younger self just wanted to delve and spend 25 hours every day doing web security stuff and attacks and 0 days and pen testing, I realized that there is so much more around. It's still part of security, but there is so much more to the actual discovery. So finding a vulnerability is amazing. Like the feeling that you have when you actually exploit something, whether it's for internal testing, whether you do it for an engagement. it's a kick of adrenaline that really few things can match. But then after that, then it comes at that moment, after the discovery, there is a whole universe. There are so many processes that are kicking in to make sure that because of what you found, people will not suffer, people will not lose money, companies will not have problems with their stocks and so on. So PSIRT is in the center of all of that. And that's why I talk with engineering, I talk with customers, I talk with PR, sometimes with online newspaper, talking about critical vulnerabilities or not. So you need to be able to work in the technical world, but also being able to interface yourself with people who are non-technical, who are semi-technical, who know more than you, who know less than you, and so on. And to all of them, you need to make sure that you convey the right amount of criticality associated to a vulnerability. You cannot say, even though sometimes I would love to say like, hey, this packet of death is the worst thing in the world. I'm sure it is, and I'm sure that for many people that is, but you need to be as objective as you can to really understand what you have on your hands. I may or may not say that it happened in the past, that somebody finds a vulnerability, but tries to blackmail Cisco. Because the point is that if you find a bug that is the worst in the world, and you really know that it's a really bad bug, are you trying to make money out of it? You shouldn't, because of course you shouldn't. The point is that selling things on the black market, it's morally awful. Like you really, how can you? I couldn't do it because it's illegal, but also because I couldn't sleep at night. Like I just know.
Yeah, it's plain wrong, right?
It is wrong, and we're past the level of common sense. But the point is that for people who, there are still people who try to do that, and that's an hazard for companies and for customers. You don't know what you're selling or buying, so be very careful about that, and please really don't trust something like that. Thing is that there is a borderline also. So people who you see that they're not super genuine reporters, or they don't get consent for their engagements, they still try to attack Cisco devices. They find vulnerabilities. They don't feel like selling on the black market because that would depict them as bad people. So they come to Cisco saying, hey, I am a very good person. I am morally good. I just want to do what's the best for you and your 1,000 customers. So I found this great vulnerability on IOSXE or on FTD or whatever, on Call Manager. And I am willing to share the details with you so that you, Cisco, and all your customers will live happily ever after. But like I spent so many hours researching this vulnerability. And I have 3 kids, groceries are expensive, and a company like Cisco, I would only imagine it would be normal for you guys to reward with a little token of appreciation my incredible effort in protecting your company and your customers. Don't you agree with me? What do you say? Like, okay, we don't really have, again, a corporate bug bounty for products. You can Google Cisco bug bounty, you will find more information, but at that point, you're like, yeah, we do credit researchers when we get the CVE IDs, but there is no monetary compensation. So then the person was like, well, I was kind of thinking about $1 million in exchange.
Like a small compensation. Like
that's a lot of groceries, huh?
But he has lots of family members to take care of. So, like, well, it's a really bad vulnerability. I cannot tell you what it is, but you send me the token of appreciation for my engagements, unsolicited engagements, and I would be more than happy to share what I found. Now, let's be honest. What is the difference between this and you go to your favorite bank and you just say the same thing and you just in person and you don't prove anything, you just wait for the money to come to you in a little briefcase. So of course, when something like this happens, PSIRT is all over the place, and actually Cisco is all over the place. If there's a claim like that, and it's not direct to our team, but if it's public, for example, somebody saying like, "Oh, I found something," you can imagine that nobody's sitting on their hands. Like, we are all over the place. We try our best. We go, we search, we investigate. My team, Tristan's team, like we're everywhere. But
we need to verify whether it is true or not. Yeah.
Of course. So we will not let it go, of course. But it's funny in a way, and tragically funny, to see what people will write to a team that deals with vulnerabilities, trying to get their moment of glory or maybe some money, because money is always good. It's a challenge day in, day out, but I love it.
Thank you, Roberto.
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Tristan. Thank you, Nico.
Yeah, it was great. One more great episode. Thank you once again. Always a lot of fun in what you're telling us, and we learn a lot. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Cisco Tech Stories podcast. You can subscribe to us on the Cisco Podcast Network in SoundCloud or your favorite podcasting app. You can also find us on our own channel called Cisco Tech Stories in every podcasting application. We are also on X at Cisco Tech Story without the S, and on Instagram and YouTube at Cisco Tech Stories. Thanks, and see you next month.
Oh, Roberto, protector unseen, you shield our hearts from the machine. Every flaw you find, every risk you trace, keeps the world spinning in a safer place. Lines of code like poetry in disguise, he deciphers the dangers where shadows lie. Packets whisper secrets he's trained to hear. His mission's clear, no room for fear. He maps the chaos, he calms the storm. In his hands the web is worn. Oh, who could love as deeply as this? A passion for safety, a digital kiss. Oh, Roberto, protector unseen, you shield our hearts from the machine. Every flaw you find, every risk you trace, keeps the world spinning in a safer place. He maps the chaos, he calms the storm. In his hands, the web is warm. Oh, who could love as deeply as this? A passion for safety, a digital kiss. Oh, Roberto, protector unseen, you shield our hearts from the machine. Every flaw you find, every risk you trace, keeps the world spinning in a safer place.